Hello Grandpa. This video all about worms. Very, very excited. This was a really fun little project to do with the kids. So this whole video is setting up the worm farm. So what I did was I ordered the worm farm online. So it got delivered directly to the house. So the worm cafe itself arrived in a couple of days, and then it was probably 2 or 3 days later, the live worms turned up. So it was really easy to order it online. I didn't have to worry about going to Bunnings or anything like that. And fun fact, it actually ended up being cheaper to order it online and then have them deliver it to my house than it was to physically going to the store to buy it. Setting up the worm farm itself was really just unboxing it and just putting it all together. So Emily had a really good time helping me put the legs on and help me put the pieces together. As for the second and third tray in the Worm Cafe, I have decided to follow the advice of a guy that I found on YouTube who he's worm crazy. And I really liked his approach to using not only food scraps but also newspaper and cardboard in the worm farm. So I took his advice, and what he does is he puts cardboard and newspaper in the second and third tray of his worm farm. So I went online and I bought a micro shredder, and I shredded up some boxes and some newspaper, and I've lined my second and third tray with this cardboard newspaper mix. So the intention is that any liquid that would come down from the top tray that would normally go down and collect in the bottom of the worm farm is actually absorbed in this second and third layer of the worm farm. The idea he's saying is that the microbes and the bacteria and things like that that are coming down out of this liquid are trapped in the second and third tray in the newspaper, so that it is essentially, he used the words inoculating, that it is inoculating the second and third tray, so that when they are ready to go up to the top tray, that there's already a little bit of a process happening in terms of the bacteria and the microbes from the worms already, and they're basically happier with that tray transition, and it helps them to keep moving things a little bit faster. But I think for me, I really like the idea of being able to do something with the cardboard and the newspaper. The next step in putting the worm farm together was soaking the little hard block that came with the worm farm. So this is the material that essentially the worms are going to live in this top tray. So we chucked it into a bucket of water and we let it rehydrate. It took about 20 minutes, and then it had absorbed enough water and had really sort of started falling apart. So what I did from there was put this softer, watery mix into the top tray and spread that out ready for the live worms to go on top. The last piece before I actually released the worms was I wanted to put some fresh shredded newspaper down the middle and then put some food in there. So again, off the advice of YouTube, the worms break down easier and have an easier time eating food that is frozen and then defrosted. We lined that up into the center, and then we covered it back over with our mix that was already in the bottom tray. Now, this is the part I know we've all been waiting for, which was releasing the worms. This was super fun. We got the cano worms, as they're called, as they arrived in the post. So we took them out of the cardboard tube that they'd come in, and I unwrapped the fabric that they had come in. And then we put the blanket on top. So the kids had a really fun time seeing the worms. Here we are 7 days later. So this is a week after we had initially released the worms into the worm cafe. And I just wanted to see how they were going and see how they'd gone with the food that we put in, see if they're still alive, and what they're doing really. So everything looked good. They had pretty well eaten all their food. The kids really loved getting their gloves on and being able to get their hands in and touch the worms and things like that. So it was a really good thing. They really enjoyed being able to see the worms and to interact with them. And at this point as well, we also put some fresh food in. So we did again some defrosted strawberry and cucumber and put that into the middle part as well. For our 2 week check-in, so the worms have been in their worm cafe for about 2 weeks now. And this one I really wanted to check in, but also to get in there and really fluff up the top tray mix. So they like a lot of air in their mix, and I was noticing that the sort of the bottom part of the tray, particularly in the corners, the worms weren't going in there. It was quite hard and compacted. So this 2 week point, we really got in and fluffed up all of the mix, really got in and dug into the corners and really gave everything a good mix around and made a little well in the center, put some fresh food in. And what I did as well was I got a spice grinder and I ground up some eggshells, so they're more of that powdery sort of consistency. And after we put the food in the middle, we just did a sprinkle of the eggshell dust as well, and then covered them back over. All right, that brings us to the end of our worm video. At this point, the worms have been in place for just over 3 weeks. I gave them a little bit more food yesterday. They feel like they are at the point where they are ready to have food a bit more consistently, but also more of it. So I put in some fresh newspaper, I did some more food, and I've started adding a little bit more variety. So I did some defrosted kiwi fruit and some defrosted apple, as well as the lettuce and the strawberries. So everything seems to be going really good. They are definitely a novelty, and I'm looking forward to being able to get the worm tea and go and spread it out through the garden, and I think the plants are going to be very, very happy with all the effort. So yeah, it's been a fun little exercise, and there you go, Grandpa. That's how you set up the worm farm. All right, I will see you in the next video. Bye, Grandpa. Love you. Mwah.